Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where you're watching from and when you're watching. So, to this evening, or wherever or whenever it is for you, we'll be getting into the sad and tragic case of Dominique Dunne, and also be talking about the many issues that go together with this case, such as DV and victims' rights advocacy and judicial reform, and many other things. So I hope you'll enjoy being with us this evening as we go into a very deep and difficult subject, but nonetheless a very important one. Glad you like the music, Val. Yeah, it reminds me of the lives that we used to do together when we were doing all of them, and it just gives me instant nostalgia for all of that. So I love having it, and I'm really glad you're here. I agree. I'll be trying to do that for the next live because I have one planned for later this week in a few days about Hugh Hefner and the files that was released by his ex-wife Crystal Hefner, and the information in there, and the fact that Hugh kept, pictures of all the women that he'd slept with, and some of them may not have known that he took the pictures or kept them. Some of them may have been unconscious or asleep. So there's various things that we'll be covering in the next live, and that hopefully I'll be able to use some of my own music for that. So stay tuned. We're really cranking them out more than we usually do. It's key, I suppose, and I'm just really having lots of fun doing it and interacting with all of you guys. Really, you're making it a dream, and I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, great. Glad you think so. Hi, Amy. Glad you could join us. Amy Boston, great channel. Amy does true crime related stuff. She's been in the Free Karen Reid movement, and she's a very good creator. She has no filter, like none of us do in this corner of YouTube, and says it how it is. And for those of you who are missing the Boston accent or hearing it, since you've lost coverage of the Karen Reid trial, you can get your Boston accent fix with Amy. So there she is. I appreciate you for you being here. So yeah, great. So we're going to get right into it. I'm glad you subbed, Val. That's great. Hopefully we can see you in some of Amy's lives in the future, and you can get a kick out of it. At the moment, she's talking about she did a storm stream today because she's getting a lot of heavy snow in Massachusetts at the moment, as am I. Although I'm not in Massachusetts, but I'm getting a lot of snow. So yeah, she usually covers John Benet Ramsey case. She's been doing that a lot recently, and she just does all sorts of cases. She really goes all over there. So it'll be nice to see you around there more. Great to see you, everyone here. So yeah, we're going to get right into Dominique Dunne. Thanks, Val. You be safe too. So we're going to get straight into the case of Dominique Dunne. So as well as talking about the horrible, tragic ending she had, we're also going to talk about her life and what she was like as a young woman and as a girl. So I like to give a full picture of the victims or the survivors in the cases that I cover, and not just talk about the horrible things that happened to them, but talk about them as people. Because I think oftentimes in true crime, people just look at cases and just assume that it's, and just look at it like it's another case, it's another name, it's this, it's that. But attached to all these cases that we all look through are real individuals, people who had a life, so people who had dreams, who had aspirations, who had passions. And I think that it's important to always explore that and to discuss that, as well as talk about obviously what happened to them. So I think it's important to give a full and well-rounded picture of every person or topic that I cover. And so yeah, it won't be just the grim and gruesome details. It will be about Dominique, because I I'm a very big fan of her work, especially in Poltergeist. But we'll get into that later. And also from reading about her as a young woman, I just thought she just sounded like a really nice person. You know what I mean? And it's a shame she's not around. I think she would have gone on to do a lot more in TV and movies. And I think it's a cheat that we didn't get to see that. I'm very interested in JonBenét. Amy, do you have heard about the possible Epstein connection? Wow, I'd love to hear about that. Val, yes, I saw a picture of that little blonde girl wearing jumper on his lap, and it looked a lot like a oh my god, that really wouldn't surprise me. You know what I mean? Like, you hear about, obviously, Eyes Wide Shut. You hear about these like wealthy families or connected families giving their daughters away to the guy that's head of the coven or head of the ring or the sex parties or whatever. So it's all very Eyes Wide Shut. And nowadays, with all the Epstein files being released, that becomes something that's a lot more acceptable and a lot easier for us to understand. Not acceptable to do, but acceptable to believe and to say. The public are a lot more willing to hear out these theories. I think it's very plausible, and I'd love to have maybe you up sometime, Val and Amy, to discuss that. The Epstein connection with JonBenét and the JonBenét case in general, because it's a case that I've followed for a long time, and I'm like torn on many aspects of it, because it's just one of those cases, I think, that where you get such limited information and such little clarity that it's easy to be so distorted on it all. So back to Dominique before I get myself sidetracked. She was born in Santa Monica to Dominique Dunne, who was a producer and a writer, and Ellen Dunne Griffin, which was her maiden name. And she had a brother by the name of Griffin Dunne. Yes, I would love that. I didn't follow it heavily, though, so you guys know much more than myself. It's great that I'd love to just have you up anyway, Val. I think you're always great on panels, and I know it's difficult for you to do it often or anything like that. But just that would mean the world to me, because you've got such great insight and you've got such a great true crime brain. And even despite not having loads and loads and loads of research on that particular case, I think with your experience of other cases, that will certainly help you just naturally. You've got that gift to do it. Oh, thank you, Jay. I can do it, not just I can do it, just not on my own channel. Or yeah, I totally get it. I totally get it. Enough said. But yeah, thanks so much for being down with that. We'll arrange that sometime, and I think it'll be a really nice discussion, because, like I said, Val, you've got a great true crime brain. You amaze me with the amount of info and the way you can piece it together and come up with theories and possibilities in your mind so quickly. It's I wish I had that ability to kind of organize my thoughts in the way that you do. It's astounding. It's amazing, and I'm blown away by it. You really have. It was really you who inspired me to do the True Crime Lives, and I just hope I'm living up to the great example that you set. So yeah, she was born to Dominique and Ellen, the producer, and her mother. Her mother sadly had MS, obviously multiple sclerosis, which is a really serious condition. A friend of mine actually has it. He's a trooper, he's a very strong guy, but it's difficult for him, really difficult. So it's a really debilitating disease, and she was confined to a wheelchair as a result. And Dominique was always helping her mother with things around the house and just helping her mother in general. And her parents were divorced, but Dominique and Ellen were both very, very close with each other. Dominique always used to say, we're not married, but she's still my wife. You know, they were happily divorced, shall we say? So there was, they were very on very good terms. So there was no issues between them two. It's a horrible disease. It really is, Val, and you know, there's no cure for it. There's possible treatments that can help mitigate it, perhaps, but it's just one of them where we're to do, you know, if someone that we can do if somebody gets it. You know, it's in 97. So she carried on going for a long time with MS, despite obviously the MS and the tragedy of her daughter's murder. She managed to find the energy to start a victim's survival, which we'll get into later. Dominique was the niece of Joanne Didion and Gregory Dunne. So they've got two very famous writing couple. She attended school in California. And oh, you think I'm muted? Hope not. Can you hear me now? Yeah, maybe go in and come back, because I think, or maybe, you know, your it might your Bluetooth might be on and it might have connected to headphones or something like that, because it is showing that my audio is on the screen, but you know, I could be off, whatever. But yeah, maybe try that, and if it's still not going good on my, oh, sounds good, great, thanks so much, Val. No worries, great. So yeah, she attended Harvard Westlake High School. Hey, I'm turning in the background. I think it's you, Jay. Well, Val says sounds good, so hopefully it's okay now. So she welcome Diva Girl as well. So she attended Fountain Valley School in Colorado as well, and graduated from there. I'm not sure why she was there. I think maybe it was a private school or something, or maybe their family relocated there for something that her dad was doing, or what have you, or maybe relatives. Maybe relatives were cutting in and out a bit. Okay, now thank you, Val. Thanks for telling me. But hopefully it remains okay. Listening while I work. Howdies and Crowbar, what good to see you. I don't think I've seen you here before. Welcome to the channel, and hope you enjoy it. We're talking about Dominique Dunne today. So she got out of school, graduated high school, and then for a year she studied art and Italian, the Italian language, in Florence, Italy. And during that time, she became fluent in Italian. And to master a language and be fluent in it within a year, you've got to be really, really smart and dedicated. And she clearly was, because I've been studying Spanish for years now, for a good few years now, actually. And I'd say I'm close to fluent at it, but I'm not totally fluent. I will maybe do some lives in Spanish, or some content in Spanish to showcase that, but also to, you know, increase my audience, because I would like to have Spanish speakers in the chat and watching the videos as well. And I know it's best when obviously you can speak it and they can understand what you're saying. But yeah, less about me, more about Dominique. It's a massive talent to be able to master Italian in such little time. And her first acting role was in the TV movie Diary of a Teenage Hitchhiker, which is a pretty heavy movie. You know, she plays a teen runaway hitchhiker in that movie, and she gets beaten and essayed. So it's like, right off the bat, she none of the roles that she ever took were like easy tween teen roles. They were all heavily demanding roles that took a lot out of her. And this was the case throughout her very, very short career. And that just shows you what a great actress she was. The fact that she was willing and very comfortable to do roles that were both physically and emotionally demanding and draining, and that she could do it and do it well. And that's precisely the type of thing that got her cast in Poltergeist, which was her breakout role. Starring as well, she wasn't starring; she was, I guess, co-starring as Dana Freeling in obviously the 1982 horror classic Poltergeist, directed by Steven Spielberg, which I think was many people's introduction to the horror genre. It was certainly my introduction to the horror genre. I think it was the first horror movie I ever saw. I thought it was brilliant from the get go. It started my love of horror, and I always really liked her character. I thought her character was great and really funny and sassy to the construction workers, flipping them off when they were being perverts and hitting on her and stuff. So yeah, I thought she was great in that, and she was good at the emotional scenes. She was really good at showing fear and showing distress. And sadly, it seems that she had a lot of real life substance to draw on, perhaps in those performances. And she was killed by her abusive ex, John Sweeney, in her West Hollywood driveway while she was rehearsing for the miniseries V with fellow actor David Packer. And now Sweeney was beating on her and choking her out for 10 minutes before he ran away and tried to throw himself into traffic on the freeway like a coward, and when he was arrested. But David Packer was there, a man, and he stayed inside whilst hearing Dominique being beaten to death, choked by Sweeney, and did absolutely fucking nothing. He called his acting friend and said, "If I die today, it's John Sweeney." Then he called the wrong sheriff's office for the area. I think he called Santa Monica sheriff's office, and he didn't even call an emergency line. And then it took him to call his friend again, and his friend said, "Call the fucking cops. Call emergency 911. Do you need me to spell it out for you?" Then he did. He made no attempt to try and get Sweeney off. He made no attempt to scream for help or shout for neighbors or whatever. He didn't go and get a kitchen knife and stab him and potentially save Dominique's life. He didn't do any of that. He did the bare minimum, if any. And whilst Dominique was in state in the hospital bed on life support, bloodied, battered and bruised, he had the audacity to sit there and cry in front of her family. So yeah, Dominique was a very nice woman, and I'm sure she would have forgiven him for this. But as a man, I don't know how David Packer can sleep with himself at night or live with himself when he could have easily, he may have been able to stop it and save her life. Exactly. He could have saved her, maybe. Almost as bad as a man in the snow. Exactly. Exactly that, Val. Exactly. Could have saved her, maybe. Exactly. He really could have done it. All it would have taken for him to was go in the kitchen and get a kitchen knife, and at least maybe it would have scared him off. Even if he didn't have to use it. But like, I just don't understand that at all. You know, if ever there's a time to take a risk, it's then. It's to save a life. You know what I mean? Especially she's his co-star as well. It's just I'll never understand that. I'll never understand that at all. She sadly died 5 days after the attack at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, after being taken off life support. Now, on a lighter note, in her life, she used to rescue stray and disabled animals, and she turned her home in West Hollywood into a kind of retreat for cats and dogs, strays and disabled animals that no one else seemed to want. Dominique used to take care of them and mother them and help them get back to health. And she was always doing that. And she'd been doing that since she was a child. You know, she always cared and loved for animals and had a great love for people and for the vulnerable and for just everybody in society. I'd never heard, all my research, I've not heard a single bad word said about her from anybody, from anywhere. And you know, you got a lot of these young actors and actresses in Hollywood, and you know, people, a lot of them can have an attitude or have airs about them, and it's just the total opposite with Dominique. Like you say, Val, she seemed like an amazing person. She really did, and she was an amazing actress. It's just so sad about how common these stories are. And Val, you covered Amy Hardwick's case, who was the former fiance of Drew Carey, and she was sadly murdered by her ex as well. Years and years after they'd broken up. So yeah, and you drew a light on that case and that issue as well. So you know, I think it's really brave of you to be able to tackle that subject. You should be really proud of yourself. It's, in my opinion, it makes it more sad. We need more people like her. I totally agree, Diva Girl from '74. It's a cheat and it's a crime that you there's so many bad people in the world at one time who were always, you know, trying to hurt and abuse, cheat and lie and steal and destroy other people. And then you got someone like her, like Dominique, who just tried her best to help everyone and everything around her. You know, it's just awful, you know, and it doesn't surprise me that a predator like Sweeney would latch on to, you know, such a successful and nice girl like Dominique, who had everything going for her, and knowing that, you know, you could take advantage of her kindness, you know, and that she clearly was the type of person who always tried to see the best in everybody. And sadly, those people, the best people in our world that we need, are often taken advantage of for that reason by sick cunts, sick bastards, you know, who don't deserve to live. And Sweeney certainly doesn't deserve to live. He's an asshole. And Sweeney was the chef of Ma Maison restaurant in Hollywood. It used to be like a real it place. Val, your mother probably heard of it or would know about it, but obviously it closed before your time, before my time, as a result of this case. Sweeney was the head chef there, and that's where he met Dominique, because Dominique's family would always used to like to go out to dinner together at nice places, and Ma Maison was one of their Ma Maison. Ma Maison. I'll send it to you. French name, so I'll text it to you. Ma Maison. And he was the head chef there, and that's where they met. And their relationship was automatically, you know, problematic. Dominique Dunne's Dominique's father said that he felt that Sweeney. I'm just going to get a drink of Pepsi. Excuse me for a second whilst I pour the glass. Sorry, need to keep hydrated. Keep my throat clear. And so anyway, thanks, Val. Dominique's father, Dominic Dunne, said that he felt that that Sweeney was always basically thinking that they looked down on him because he wasn't from a wealthy background like they were, when they emphasized that they were always welcoming to him and nice to him and tried hard with him, but he had these preconceived notions in his head, these feelings of inadequacy that he always like, and he just naturally kind of resented them for it and was jealous of them for you know the type of life that they came from. And I think that's really foolish and naive, you know, that he would assume all these things just because someone's wealthy, and have this resentment and jealousy towards everyone and everything. And this gets on to, you know, in their relationship, whenever anyone would go up to them, Dominique and Sweeney, out on the streets or at Ma Maison or anywhere else, and say, Dominique, I thought you were great in Poltergeist. Sweeney would like take it as if they were like hitting on her, and he'd get all aggressive and like threatening, and you know, like you think of it from Dominique's point of view, you know what I mean? She's you know, she's a great actress, and of course she's going to have fans, you know, and instead of like being proud of her and happy for her and grateful to the fans and nice to the fans along with her, he just sees it as like they're picking up on her, and then he'd take it out on her and be like really controlling and abusive. They were together for on and off again for I think a year or two, and then she passed. They were on and off again for a year or two. I don't think the exact timeline, but around that generally. You're welcome, Val. You're very welcome. And there were several instances that kind of were, you know, they knew she was that Sweeney was beating on her, the family, and one time Dominique had to sneak out of bed at the house she was living at with Sweeney after he'd beaten her really badly and ripped out chunks of her hair and chipped a tooth of hers. She went to her mother's house, and then he turned up there and threatening her and threatening her mother who was in a wheelchair with MS, you know, and he thinks he's this big tough guy going to her mother's house, threatening her and her mother, you know, and her mother's got MS. It's just crazy, you know, it's so sad. And then her mother stood up to him and said, if you don't leave, I'm going to call the cops. And then he disappeared. So he wasn't willing to stay and be confrontational, angry when there was going to be someone who would, you know, stand up to him and fight back. So exactly, Val, it's pathetic. Everyone who's like that, who's a domestic abuser and abuser, is fundamentally a coward, and that's what they're like. You know, they'll only do it if they think they're not going to, you know, there's not going to be any pushback. So it's just pathetic and sick. And so on the day of the murder, Sweeney had turned up demanding that they reconcile, and she'd broken up with him after that incident with her mother, and she promised herself, you know, that she wasn't gonna go back with him because she just knew it was never going to end. You know, she'd reconciled with him so many times, and he'd just gone back and doing the same cycle and same thing. And she made that decision, and she made the right decision for her, and she had the guts and the courage to make it. And sadly, he couldn't stand that. He couldn't put up with that, and he took her life. He turned up at her home, demanded they reconcile, and then when she stepped out to speak to him, because she was like that, she was nice, she was caring, she was trying to reason with him, and she probably felt really embarrassed that he was being there and in such hysterics in front of David Packer, her co-star on V, and he just did it. He went further than he'd ever gone before, and he did it in, you know, on a driveway in the middle of the day. I just don't get it how David Packer didn't do anything. Any neighbors didn't do anything. You know, I really don't. I'm heartbroken because it could have been prevented so easily, and so many of these cases could have been prevented. All of them, really. That's why I'm doing this, obviously, to talk about it, but also to raise awareness of these types of situations. And I'm mindful of the fact that the majority of my audience is women, and I think it's an important subject to discuss for everybody, to become educated on, and to be aware of, because it's something that's, I think, swept under the carpet and the rugs of society. I don't think people want to talk about it, and they cover it up because it's difficult to talk about. But I think, you keep things in the dark, and they'll just get worse and worse and worse. It's not solving anything. I think you address an issue, you talk about it, you confront it, and then hopefully, there can be some good that will come from that, from understanding, patterns of abuse and how to identify them. Hopefully it could get someone out of getting into a relationship with someone like Sweeney. I really hope I can help somebody in that way somehow. I would really feel great about it, because it's an issue that means quite a lot to me. Someone who myself, subject to domestic abuse, when I was a child, my parents, so I understand it, not from an intimate partner type situation, but I understand what it can be like to be in a home like that. So yeah. So Sweeney was arrested, like I said earlier, trying to throw himself in front of traffic on the freeway, screaming, "I killed her, I killed her, I killed Dominique Dunne," to people. And then, despite confessing that he killed her, on the freeway to police and in interrogations, he was convicted of voluntary homicide, despite being charged with second-degree murder. He should never have been charged with second-degree murder. I think he planned the fuck out of that. I think he planned it, going there, and if she didn't go back with him, he was going to kill her. That's called planning. That's called premeditation. There's no crime of passion. He never loved her. He hated her. You don't kill somebody you love. You don't hit somebody you love. You don't strangle somebody you love. I don't know where any of these people come from who decide the charges and who talk about crimes of passion and all that. But this isn't it. She wasn't cheating on him. They weren't even together. She'd left his ass because he was beating her. Thanks, Valence. It's really kind of you to say. And yeah, like she left his ass because he was beating on her, and there's no recourse for that. It's there's no, clearly he was vindictive, and he planned to go there that day, and he knew what he was going to do if she didn't give him what he wanted. So I don't think that there's any second degree to it. I think it should have been a first degree death penalty case as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what the hell the prosecutors were thinking. But still, yeah, he was convicted of voluntary manslaughter, and he was sentenced to 6.5 years, but only did 3.5. So he murdered Dominique Dunne, and her life to the prosecutors, to the state of California, was only worth 3.5 years, which is horrific and tragic. And this is the horrible sentencing, the whole way it was dealt with. Is what spurned Dominique Dunne to become an advocate for victims of crime, along with Ellen, Dominique's mother, as well. So it's just astounding. And the reasoning for that was because Sweeney had a very strong legal team who were basically hired by the owner of Mar Maison restaurant where he worked. And the owner of Mar Maison gave an interview to, is it the LA Times? I could be wrong, LA Times, or the paper in LA, the newspaper in LA, where he said at the time, Sweeney is a very dependable young man, and I'll spare no expense for his legal defense. He never made a comment about how tragic it was to do with the situation with Dominique, or how awful it was, or anything like that. He just said, basically, I'm going to protect my golden goose. I'm going to protect my head chef, whatever the cost. And he hired some very you know, nasty lawyers who were mean and strong and good at what they did, and they managed obviously to get his charge, dropped to voluntary homicide from second-degree murder. So clearly, they did their lawyering business, sadly, and to add insult to injury, his lawyers constantly got Dominique's name wrong in court, seemingly on purpose, and kept calling her Dominic. And Dominique's father, Dominic, said in an interview afterwards about how annoyed that would make him, about how they seemingly were so dismissive of his daughter in open court, and were just making lies about her, saying that that she was actually pregnant and had got an abortion, and that's why Sweeney had reacted violently like that, when that's just not true at all. Medical records and every record proves that just isn't true. It's just a complete lie that he threw out there in court, and just to rub salt in the wounds of the family, and to try and demonize or criticize Dominique when she was the victim. It's just that classic dirty lawyering tactics. And Father Dominique became a very prominent investigative journalist and victims' rights advocate, and he was very prominent and present during the O.J. Simpson murder trial. He was there covering it day by day, and was also portrayed in movies made about the O.J. Simpson trial by various actors. And he did a series that I recommend you go and watch on YouTube. Dominique Dunne's true crime series. I forget the correct name of it, but it's something privilege and something, crime and privilege or something like that. So cases that he talks about are usually cases that involve rich people, or the children of rich people who go and commit crimes. It's like crimes in high society type thing. So it's an interesting series. He's passed away now, but I think he was a very good advocate for his daughter and for victims in general, and he was a really good investigative and true crime journalist. So all the true crime fans, go and check out Dominique Dunne's series on YouTube. And also the various interviews that he'd given. He's a very insightful man. Ellen formed the Justice for Homicide Victims group in 1983. And I think that's a brilliant thing. And I'll maybe going to try and reach out to them and maybe get a representative from that group to come on to the show and to speak with me about victims' rights advocacy, and to inform us and educate us a bit more about what that means and what that is and what this group does and how we can help if we want to, because I've always wanted to do more than just report and follow cases. I think advocacy and advocating for people and trying to go beyond just talking about it is something that really appeals to me. And I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts in chat so far about everything. But a sad thing is that on the funeral of Dominique, actually they had to move the time it was supposed to take place at midday. However, the priest for the church where they were no worries, Val, take your time, no worries at all. However, the priest at the church where the Dunne family were regulars had forgotten that there was a wedding that was due to take place at the time the Dunnes had already booked for the funeral of Dominique. So they had to postpone it for an hour or two whilst the wedding took place. And to add insult to injury, it wasn't just a random wedding. It was the wedding of a friend of John Sweeney. So whilst, the Dunne family were going to lay Dominique to rest, they had to wait so that a friend of the man that killed her could get married, or because the priest, was poorly organising it, and was also a known drunk at the time, and was a known drunk and was a bit of a star heifer as well. So Dominique Dunne, Dominique's father, said that the priest hadn't even remembered who Dominique was on the day of the funeral until he mentioned the fact that she'd been in Poltergeist, and then that kind of jogged his memory. Like he only really cared for a name, you know what I mean, rather than a girl that he'd actually baptized. And he they were regular church going Catholics. They went to church. So it's astounding that this guy was such a drunk that he forgot that, and he also made such a blunder to where the friend of Sweeney's, the killer, was getting married at the same bloody day, same place where Dominique was going to be buried, and no sensitivity or thinking for the family. I think it would be great as well, Val. I love getting different views and different opinions on these cases and different perspectives, and also just kind of advice on what we can do to help, in our own little way. I think no part is too big or too small. I don't think anyone's too young or too old to do something, for somebody else. I think altruism is a really great thing, and that seems to be what Dominique was all about. She was all about helping cats, helping dogs, helping animals, helping people. And in the spirit of Dominique, I would like to have someone on from that foundation that her mother founded, Justice for Homicide Victims, and for them to talk about their mission and their goals and how we can maybe get involved, because I think that would be something that Dominique would really like and would really appreciate. And I think that it's really nice. Hi, Amber. Good to see you. Glad you could join us. And another thing, on her episode of Hill Street Blues, which Dominique did, she played a young teenage mother who'd been abused by her family, beaten up, and decided to give her baby away in the episode, so that, like, out of fear that she would repeat the cycle of abuse. However, in that episode, she was obviously beaten up and had to be seen to be beaten up and bloodied and black and blue. They didn't need to put on makeup for her. They didn't need to put on any makeup for her because she was so beaten up from what Sweeney had done to her on the night before filming that episode, that they didn't need to put makeup on her to make it look like she'd been beaten up. She just looked like she'd been beaten up because she had been. And she played that episode as someone who was a victim of abuse, as a victim of abuse, with the scars and the marks all there, all real. So that pain that she was showing in that episode was real. That understanding of it was real. It wasn't acting, it was true. And her family watched that as it premiered 2 weeks after her death, and they were just stunned by it, and obviously very emotional, but they were glad that they did it, glad that they saw it, because it was closure in a way, and it's a deep case, ATS, Amber. She was obviously, you probably remember Dominique Dunne. She was in Poltergeist. She was the teenage daughter in Poltergeist, obviously great, huge film, and she was a victim of DV, domestic violence, by her ex-boyfriend, John Sweeney, who was a prominent chef, and he only got 6.5 years for a murder, and because he got the charge dropped down to voluntary homicide, not voluntary homicide. Yeah, voluntary homicide. Yes, voluntary homicide, and only did 3.5 years of a 6.5-year sentence for murder. And this spurned Dominique's family to become, both her mother and her father, to become deeply involved in true crime and victims' rights advocacy, and that, I think that's just a testament to what strong and great people they were in their lives. That despite the awful adversity that was dealt to them, that they used that energy to help others, to help other victims, other families, get justice and demand that justice, and also to keep people locked up who are a danger to society, and to, pressurize and lobby for laws that protect people who are victims of domestic abuse, domestic violence, inter-partner violence, and things like that. And certainly a lot of progress has been made since Dominique's death. However, we've still got a long way to go. Women and men, young and old, are victims of domestic abuse every day, and it's still happening. It's an epidemic, and sometimes someone gets hit and they don't get back up again. It's a horrible epidemic throughout the world, and it doesn't go away by ignoring it. You've got to talk about it and confront it head on, and understand how to spot it. And after Sweeney got out of prison at 3.5 years, he went back to working in restaurants around LA, and the Dunne family used to lobby and picket outside of the restaurants, and have leaflets that said, "The hands that cooked your food that you'll eat tonight were the hands that murdered Dominique Dunne," with pictures of Dominique, and their family were educating people. And because of that, and because of the connection that the friends that Dominique's parents had, Dominic and Ellen, were very big into the LA and Hollywood social scene, with other creatives, other artists, singers, and musicians, and all kinds of people, that they had loads and loads of friends, and they used to have big parties, and they loved having parties and meeting people, and they were just great people persons. And Dominique was the same, by all accounts. So, like, by them saying, "Look, don't go to Ma Maison, don't go to any of these restaurants where Sweeney's working," it made it so that he couldn't get a job, because they were so they had such good contacts with people, and they had such loyal friends. And that's a testament to what great people they were, and what a great person Dominique was. And he eventually, left LA and moved away. And about 10 years after it all went down, and Dominique had been murdered and the trial had happened, Dominique's father, got contacted by a doctor other side of the country, out of concern, saying, "My daughter is engaged to marry the man that killed your daughter. What can I do?" And Dominic gave this man advice on what he can do and how he can talk to his daughter to get her to know the seriousness of the guy that she's engaged to marry, and how dangerous he is, and what he's done, and how it actually happened, as to whatever yarn he was spinning her. And it managed to get that woman out of the relationship with Sweeney and stop her from marrying him. And that could have saved her life. It probably did save her life, because Sweeney had been beating his girlfriends before he was with Dominique, and he probably beat his partners after that as well. And that's all we know about him. He's gone dark, He changed his name, so it's difficult to kind of get more info on him. But Dominic, when he was alive, would keep tabs on him, and let people know around his areas, like, that he was living, like, the type of person he was, which is good. I think that's a good thing to do. I think you've got to treat these people, if they're alive, like sex offenders. Predators are predators. You know what I mean? It's different ways of abuse, but still, I think that the brain, the mindset of these people is the same. So I think if you inform people who are in their orbit, and then that is obviously the best you can do as someone. It's a really really tragic story, and but the good silver lining out of it is obviously that if you could call it that, I guess, taking lemons and making lemonade, that Dominique Dunne, he helped save that girl's life, by informing her her father her father of how to get her out of that situation with Sweeney. And I think that Dominique was looking down on him and with pride, and insanely proud of her parents' strength and resilience and courage and facing that terrible adversity, and not just taking it lying down, but helping other people out just like she would do. And that's a testament to her legacy, that her parents carried on her legacy very, very well, very, very well. And it's just a shame that she didn't get to live longer. I mean, now if she was still alive, she'd be in her late 50s, and I can only imagine the type of movie roles that she would have got and the type of movies that she would have done. Because as I was saying earlier, for her very short career, she never picked an easy role. She never did an easy role. All the roles she did were difficult, were demanding, were tough. There was no walk in the park roles for Dominique. She took on emotionally and physically draining roles and did them amazingly, and was always nice and wonderful to everybody she met. And that's just a brilliant person, and it's such a shame that we lost her at only 22 years of age. She was only 22 when she died. It's just tragic. It's so sad. And obviously she wasn't in the sequel to Poltergeist, or the third one. And who knows? I think that those movies the sequel and the third would have been a lot better with her in them. I really do. I think that's what I think she was certainly. I think the second one was nowhere near as good as the first, and I think that her lack of presence in the second one has a lot to do with that. And yeah, it's and she's she's survived by her work, and she'll be immortalized in Poltergeist, in Hill Street Blues, in all the other roles that she took in such a short time. So it's tragic, and she's survived by her brother Griffin, and obviously she was by her parents, and sadly they passed away. But Griffin's still alive, and you might know Griffin was in the movie An American Werewolf in London. So her and her brother were in around the same time, and she was in Poltergeist, like two very, very big hit movies. So like, it shows you what a family they came from. Where they've got parents who everybody loves. They're always having great parties, and everyone's like really happy to be friendly with them and know them. And also you've got the kids who were getting like great huge roles, you know what I mean, in great movies that really do stand the test of time. Both of them are brilliant, and to have two kids that are so great at their craft is an achievement, an impeccable achievement, and shows you what great people they were, and such a great family they were, and it's a cheat, and it's a shame, like I keep saying, that we lost her so early. I have seen that. Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you have. Yeah, you've seen Poltergeist. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain fuck moment. Sorry, wait, what are you talking about? Poltergeist, yeah. It's I always thought it was a great movie. Really, really well done. And but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start getting to the end now. And any closing thoughts, Val? Amber? Anyone? Any questions? Any anything from anyone watching? Just final thoughts. I need to say brain fart. Yeah, yeah. I just I don't know what it is. I'm just over swearing today. I'm ramping it up on the curses for whatever reason. Uh, yeah, I'm. Any closing thoughts or ideas? And I just no. Oh, sorry. Fuck me. I'm fucking memory of a goldfish here. Sorry. It happens to me all the time. I move on to one other thing and then my brain completely detaches from the previous train of thought. And but thanks for keeping me on topic, Val, and back to reminding me of and helping me with my short-term memory loss. Where would I be without you? No Werewolf in London. Yeah, I love that movie. It's a really great movie. I really love the aesthetic of it, and I'm glad that you've seen it as well. I like the rural scenes where he's in the countryside. It reminds me of close to where I grew up, the moors, near Manchester. So such a great movie, both of them. They've been in. Sounds like full justice wasn't served, sadly. Absolutely, it wasn't, Amber. It really wasn't. 3.5 years for robbing Dominique of, she was only 22 when she passed. She could have had another 80 plus years of life, and that was taken away from her. And he only did 3.5. It's absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. There should be mandatory sentences in cases like this, and they should be fixed. There shouldn't be any negotiations for lesser pleas or anything like that. It's absolutely outrageous. It is a major miscarriage of justice, and the judge in that case, despite saying that he thought Sweeney should have been still charged for second-degree homicide, he's still his behavior in the case was, and during the trial was really appalling, and Dominic and the Dunne family really didn't like the judge. He was basically more concerned with the celebrity of it all and making sure that his angles and the pictures of him in the press were good, and that his name was being mentioned a lot, and it was all about him, the judge, and he saw it as, I'm going to use the fact that this talented young actress was murdered, and I'm going to try and make a name off her name. Basically, is the way the judge was, and because of that, and because of the outrage of how he was behaving in the trial, and what he allowed from the defense as well, was the basic character assassinations of the Dunnes and of Dominique, which is, I'm saying things that are just too messed up to even repeat, and I don't want to because they're lies. Just all this kind of stuff that he ended up in traffic court, that he wasn't even doing criminal trials after that. A few years after the Dunne case, the Dominique Dunne case, he was doing traffic court, taking care of speeding tickets. So yeah, that's where he belongs, if he belongs in a courtroom at all. He only got 3.5 years. What the fuck? Exactly 3.5 years. Oh my god! What an insult! Imagine being Dominique's mother, or a sister, or a friend, and being best friend, and being in court, and hearing 3.5 years for the life of your loved one, of your friend, of your Hi everyone. Sorry, yeah, my phone died, so I was just gonna do the outro, and then my phone died. But yeah, thank you, Val, for It's a shame that it got censored, Amber. I don't. I try not to have any I don't have any filters on my channel, so it was YouTube's censors, which is pesky. Because hopefully, uh, I'll do some streams on Rumble, and Rumble's like YouTube, like a live streaming service, and you can get donations and memberships and all that stuff. But it's cool because it has no censorship, so you can say all the words you want to say in chat or speaking, and you can play clips, and it's just a lot better and easier than YouTube. It's really like I'm going to be moving to Rumble as well as doing YouTube lives, but I'll be doing some Rumble lives. Yeah, I'm back, Val. My phone died, and I thought it would have just ended the live, but it cut me off stage. So I'm gonna have to edit out the dead air in for the replay because everyone will be a bit confused. But yeah, thanks for holding the ship down with Amber and saying goodbye to everybody. But yeah, thanks for being here for the whole live, Val. You've been great with your contributions, everything you're saying, and I know that this subject is very close to you and for you, and I'm just glad that you've been able to be here for it, and you're so brave, and you inspire me so much to keep making lives and keep doing it. So yeah, I'm really glad that you're here, and Amber as well. Thank you for all your support, your encouragement, and having me up on your channel. It would just keep going. Oh my god. Yeah, I remember like sometimes people I've known and people we've known have fallen asleep on channels on panels before, and it just keeps going. Like that's like probably one of my worst nightmares is to like fall asleep and just have it going on. I guess then it would be a place for people to hang out. So I'm so happy you could too, and you've been giving great contributions. So yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you Val. Thank you Amber. Thank you everyone who's been in chat, and rest in peace Dominique, and rest in peace Alan, and rest in peace Dominic. And you're all united together again now, I believe, and I'm sorry that it had to be that way, but it's the way life works out sometimes. And Dominique and I think all of them have left a really great legacy behind, and I've been really honored to talk about Dominique and her life, and I've been really glad that you were all here with me to share in it. Yeah. Thanks so much for being here, Val. You're great. And yeah, if in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And I hope you'll all join me in the next few days, day or two, and I'll be doing my live about the secret files of secret documents and pics of Hugh Hefner, and do more of a deep dive into him like my last one. So I hope you'll join me for that, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.